What is up, everybody? Gonna be doing chapter 5 today. There's a bit of outside noise because I'm recording during the day when I usually record at night, so I apologize if you hear anything in the background. Alright, chapter 5. The inside of Seva was not what any of them expected. The air wasn't any different than the air they were just breathing outside of the fence. Their surroundings were the remnants of buildings, particularly businesses and factories, most of which were unrecognizable by the damage. Looks like this place was completely torched, Audra pointed to a nearby wall that used to be part of a building. It was as black as charcoal. If the ruins of Seva were the results of an explosion, wouldn't everyone on this side of Novessa have heard it? It was a long time ago, Koré reminded her. Even if that was the case, it's possible anyone alive to hear it would be dead by now. They would have passed the story on, though, added Cindy. True, but who knows how accurate those stories would be after so many years. Koré had stepped out in front of the rest of the group and was looking back and forth as she walked. Finally, she came to an abrupt stop and put her hand up to stop the others. Audra almost crashed into her. What is it? Cindy was the furthest behind, and when she caught up to where Koré was standing, she saw what halted her. A large opening in the ground long enough to prevent them from going any further. That's not good. A quick noise forced them all to turn around. A man with long white hair and a big white beard was holding a large gun with both of his hands. Koré, Cindy, and Audra put their hands in the air. Tor did the same after watching them do it. If you don't want to find out what's down there, I suggest you start talking. There's people living in Seva. Audra's mouth was open in disbelief. Koré once again stepped in front of the group and moved her hand forward as if to stop the man from shooting. We're not here to cause you any harm. We just came here looking for answers. Take another step in my direction. I'll blow that pretty little head of yours clean off your body. The man aimed his gun and took a step toward Koré. I'll be fishing for answers here. Anything you want to know, just ask, said Cindy. She tried to act confident, but her voice cracked when she spoke, and her arms were visibly shaking. The man held the gun with one hand and pointed at Koré. You. He pulled his hand back to wave her over. Come here. Careful, Koré, whispered Audra. Koré walked over to the man, and he led her further from the group. Are you with the Welton Company? That's like the suits they wear. No, I'm independent, said Koré. The tall man with me lost his memories, but we think he's connected to Seva somehow. Just came here to try to get him to remember his past. If I'm being honest, we had no idea people were still living here. We're what's left, said the man. I'm called Triborn, one of the three. Koré studied the lines in the man's face. You're a triplet, then. Where are the other two? I'm the last of us, said Triborn. Though your friend's story intrigues me. We were the same, lost, confused, unaware of our pasts. Are there more people living here? Koré waved to the others to join them. Yes. The others walked up next to Koré, and Triborn finally lowered his weapon. I told this girl that I too had no memories when I arrived in Seva. This man is not alone. Our chief will know what to do with you all. Koré gave a nod to the others, and they followed Triborn. It felt like they weren't very far from the fence that they had entered, but when Triborn led them into an open area, they could no longer see the fence. Cindy looked off in the direction that she would normally look when on the train and saw a similar black smoke rising in the distance. Triborn led them to one of the few buildings still intact in Seva. He pushed open a gate, then continued to lead the way inside. The first person they saw was a young woman in white clothes attending another woman. A woman needing the attention had an arrow sticking out of her shoulder, and blood was dripping down her arm. As they made their way through the building, there were more and more people, each with arrow injuries being attended to. What happened to them? Asked Audra. Triborn looked back at her. We were attacked earlier today. Koré noticed another victim with an arrow in their leg. Why would someone use a bow and arrow instead of a gun? The guard still uses swords sometimes, don't they? Added Cindy. I don't think it's that far of a stretch. Just seems inefficient, responded Koré. Were there any casualties? Triborn shook his head. Surprisingly, no. Not even a potentially fatal wound on any of the victims. She was either a bad shot or keeping us alive on purpose. Most of the nurses and injured were staring at Tor due to his size. He was in the back of the group now, so the rest didn't notice. Audra grabbed Cindy's hand as they walked. Both of their hands felt clammy from the nerves. Only one person did all of this? Asked Audra. I've already shared a lot, Triborn stopped. Triborn stopped in front of two large metal doors. They looked out of place in comparison to the rest of the building they just traveled through. Triborn knocked on the door 4 times. After a few seconds, the two doors slowly opened. 2 men wearing helmets and body armor opened the doors. They were both carrying spears. Koré immediately noticed the helmets on their heads were old guard helmets that were painted over. The body armor didn't look familiar. The room was part of whatever medical facility this used to be. but had been cleaned out completely and remodeled. The middle of the room was mostly vacant, while in the far side of the room was a large table. A few more people were gathered around the table, and on it was a map. Standing at the head of the table on the farthest side from Koré and the group was a man with slick back brown hair. He wore body armor similar to the type the men who let them in were wearing. Triborn, I wasn't expecting you back so soon. The man walked over to greet Triborn, then locked eyes with Koré. Who are your new friends? I'm Koré. Koré stepped closer and put her hand out. This is Audra, Cindy, and Tor. The moment Koré finished her introductions, the rest of the people at the table stared at her. She heard one of them gasp. She speaks out of turn. Triborn bowed to the man. I apologize, Chief Griswold. That will not happen again. Don't be ridiculous, Griswold laughed. He grabbed Koré's hand and kissed the top of it. A woman of such fine taste in clothing is hard to come by in Seva and must be treated as a guest, not an enemy. Koré looked back at Audra, then at Griswold. She did a curtsy before taking her hand back. I did not know that was how things were done here in Seva. I apologize, Chief. Griswold, was it? Griswold nodded. He turned and looked at the people at the table, and without saying a word, they knew they needed to get back to work. These marks on your face. Who would blemish such beauty? I was attacked, said Koré. By the woman with blue skin? Griswold's question caused Audra and Cindy to look at each other. You know of her. Griswold finally looked beyond Koré at the other girls. It wasn't a woman with blue skin that attacked me, it was a man. Koré touched one of the scratches on her face. A man with blue skin named Mavis. Do you know more about him? Mavis is the man who cut us off from the rest of Seva, said Griswold. He's responsible for that hole outside. Is he also responsible for what happened to Seva in the first place? Asked Koré. Griswold grabbed both of Koré's hands and pulled them up to his chest. That happened long before Mavis arrived, though it pains me to know he tried to damage such beauty. I think I'm going to be sick, Audra whispered to Cindy. So pathetic, Cindy added. Those people with the arrow injuries, was that from the blue-skinned woman? Koré wanted nothing more than to pull her hands back again, but she also wanted answers. Griswold released Koré's hands and walked back over to the table. Ever since Mavis cut us off from the rest of Seva, we've been trying to find a way across. The fences block us from leaving, as do the guard. The deeper one goes into Seva, the more dangerous it becomes, and I fear that our people on the other side may be forced to enter the more dangerous territories. The gap is too big for a bridge, added Audra. No vehicles would be able to float over without plummeting, said Cindy. Indeed. Griswold pointed to a part of the map on the map, and the others joined him at the table. We don't have enough magic to use other means either. Most of the magic remaining in Seva was taken by Mavis when he made the gap. It's a similar scenario to the two halves of Nevesta, just on a smaller scale. Koré leaned over the table to get a better look at the map. She noticed that the map was strictly just the new Seva, and most of it was hand-drawn. Triborn mentioned that his memories were missing when he arrived in Seva. My friend here, Koré presented Tor by putting her arm out, woke up just outside of Seva with a similar feeling. Is that the same for everyone here? Griswold looked at Triborn. Koré feared she got there escorted to trouble. Triborn is not alone in that feeling, but it isn't all of us either. I was declared chief of the remnants of Seva because I was one of the few to retain my memories, though memories of what truly happened in Seva seem to be missing throughout Novessa. Is there a way to fix it or reverse the process? Asked Koré. Doubtful. Griswold tapped a part of the map beyond the gap. This was where we conducted most of our magical experiments to reverse the process. Luckily, no one was seriously hurt, but none of the experiments resulted in success. Do you think with enough magic you could reverse it? Koré watched as Griswold walked back over to them, but this time he ignored Koré and went straight to Tor. If we were able to get more magic from outside Seva and bring it here, could it fix your problems and give your people their memories back? Griswold put his hand up on Tor's cheek. There is an underlying power at work here, some dormant magic from within. If the subject is adept at magic to begin with, it may allow us to further the experiment and get better results. Even without more magic, you have enough to do this? Asked Koré. Seems you're very low on magical energy in general. We could perform the experiment and still be at about the same progress we're at now with getting across the gap. The experiment itself is heavily reliant on the host more than it is on the outside source, at least from what we've seen and tried in the past. Griswold flipped over Tor's hand and ran his fingers along Tor's veins. This is unlike anything I've seen before from other Sevians. Griswold's curiosity brought the attention of the others. What should we do? Asked Triborn. Give them rooms, prepare this one for the first test. We'll try in the morning. Griswold turned to Koré. Is that all right? Since I went in today, I'm off tomorrow, said Audra. Also off tomorrow, added Cindy. Tor just nodded to Koré. Koré was suspicious, but also knew they were lucky to get a lead so soon. Not to mention more information about Mavis and potentially more blue elves. If it's possible to keep us all in the same room, I would appreciate it. As you wish. Triborn? Triborn got closer. Give them one of the spare rooms in the back away from the injured. As you command, Chief. Triborn bowed once more and led the group once again. This time he brought them to another large door. Please make yourselves comfortable. Koré opened the door and let the others go in first. She closed it behind her and locked it. So, am I the only one who thinks this is a bad idea? Staying the night in a destroyed city with the craziest leftovers who still live here? What could possibly go wrong? Audra walked over to one of the beds. There were only 2 in the room. Cindy walked over to the second bed. We're all in agreement that this is our only and best lead, though, right? Our hands are tied. Plus, we don't know what they would have done if we said no. They all have armor and weapons. Most of us are unarmed. Koré sat on a part of one of the beds that put her between Audra and Cindy. This room is very clean compared to the rest of Seva. I think it's safe to stay the night here. Tor sat against the wall in the corner and closed his eyes. Koré and Audra took one of the beds, and Cindy took the other. Koré was still wearing her suit, so she took some of her clothes off to be more comfortable. It wasn't as late as Koré would normally go to sleep, but they all thought it best to get a good night's sleep. The moment Koré's head hit the pillow, her nostrils filled with a magic she had never experienced before. A brief moment of worry took over her, but the effects of the magic were too strong. Before she knew it, she was asleep. When Koré woke up, she felt relaxed, but the moment she focused on the bed beside her, she noticed Cindy was missing. She looked beyond Cindy's bed and didn't see Tor where she left him. In a panic, she rolled over to see if Audra was still next to her and found a vacant spot there as well. Koré got out of the bed in a rush, only to see that her clothes were missing too. The door began to open, and Koré braced herself for a fight, but Triborn entered holding a green and white dress. Parts of the dress were torn. Put this on, Triborn said as he threw it to Koré. Where are my friends? Asked Koré. What did you do to them? Your friends are safe, Triborn smiled. They're all waiting for you, detective.